Our distinguished keynote speaker is going to be His Excellency Dr. Hamadoun Toure, the Secretary General of the International Telecommunications Union, or ITU. Dr. Toure has actually been the Secretary General of the International Telecommunications Union since January of 2007. He was reelected for his second four-year term in October of 2010. As Secretary General, Dr. Toure is committed to ITU's mission of connecting the world and helping achieve the Millennium Development Goals through harnessing the unique potential of information and communication technologies, or ICTs, which is what we're actually focused on here today. A long-standing champion of the ICTs as a driver of the social and economic development, Dr. Toure has previously served as director of the ITU's Telecommunication Development Bureau, or BDT, from 1998 to 2006. In the role, he placed considerable emphasis on implementing the outcomes of the World Summit on the Information Society, or WSIS, launching the projects based on partnership with the international organizations, governments, and the private sector and civil society. Now we're going to be having Dr. Armen Orujyan, who has been with us for the past day, and he's going to be continuing to be with us, come back up to be our moderator for this. We are going to have this continue in a Davos style. I'll bring him to the stage to introduce you to Dr. Toure.
Thank you, Morning, everyone. How are we doing? Very good. Dr. Toure, how are you?
Hi, Armen. How are you doing?
Very good. Good to see you.
It's great to see you here.
This is our second day. We had a fantastic day yesterday, I want to say, with President Kagame joining in from Kigali, the same way you're joining in from Geneva, Switzerland. And then our colleague, Dennis O'Brien, was here as well in person. So we had very lively discussion with him and several panels. And we want to continue on the same note here. We have a very exciting group here who got a little drunk last night, but they're better today. So we're going to have another wonderful conversation with you. With that, I want to welcome you. It's a great honor to have you here with us, Dr. Toure. So I want to give you.
Well, it's a pleasure and honor for me.
Please,
I'm sure I'll not be able to match President Kagame or Dennis O'Brien, but I'll try.
Oh yes, you'll do very well. I know how you are. So with this, I want to give you the floor. Please make your interventions, your thoughts with our young entrepreneurs. We have a bunch of really smart folks here. We had an opportunity to speak to many of them in person yesterday. And they have great ideas that are coming to fruition, and they will be, and with our support, I think next couple of days, we're going to witness these guys coming into a union, into teams, and producing, hopefully, what we imagine, 20 new startups. Some of them will turn into dreams. Hopefully, all of them will turn into dreams. With that, I want to invite you to do your welcoming to our group, and then we'll continue with our conversation.
Well, let me first of all congratulate you and welcome all of you to this wonderful gathering. It is a real opportunity. Bringing young innovators and young entrepreneurs together is really addressing some of the most important and crucial issues of the day today, youth and employment. There is there is a serious financial crisis in the world today, in some parts of the world, and youth are the ones that are losing out of all of this. And it's important that we find solutions that will enable them to find jobs and make a living, and also contribute to a bright future. And information and communication technology has been the key enabler in that. We've been addressing this issue from ITU's perspective from many angles. I mean, lately, you may have seen and you have heard from President Kagame and from Dennis O'Brien. They're both members of the Broadband Commission for Digital Development. And Armen, you were also member of that. And that's one of the responses that ITU had in order to address the issue of the Millennium Development Goals, which is to ensure that every citizen of this planet can have a decent job, can also have the right to education, to health, and to housing, and to a job, a decent job. And the information and communication technology gives us the right opportunity for that. In the world today, just Europe alone, the need for new jobs for in the ICT sector will be above 1 million jobs. But we need always to match the right skills, the right education with the requirements of the jobs. And that's one of the key challenges we're facing. In the world, 2/3 of the new jobs created in the world are in the ICT sector. Therefore, this sector will continue to play a very important role in ensuring that we turn around the economic situation. And young entrepreneurs that will have the courage to get their innovative ideas off the ground will be very much welcome. And this session gives us the right opportunity, because entrepreneurship is not something that you're born with. It's a skill that you can acquire. You can learn it, but you have to learn it well from professionals, so that you do it right.
I'm glad you're mentioning that entrepreneurship is not really something you're born with. Many people make that mistake thinking that people are born with certain privileges. So it's almost like they're a privileged breed of people, and unless you're born with those privileges, you will not turn into an entrepreneur. You can't have success, which is not true, and we'll speak more, and we have been, and we'll speak more about some of those qualities that could be generated. Dr. Toure, I wanted to ask you a little bit, many people know what ITU is. It's the oldest UN organization, and it was there when United Nations wasn't there. Maybe in few words, if you don't mind introducing to our forum here, some of the elements that ITU does. I know everyone carries a cell phone here, and they travel around and they use their cell phones, whether in the States or abroad, and they think it's easy. But it is easy because ITU is doing a lot of things about this, right?
Yeah, ITU is the oldest by age, but it's the youngest by the services and applications that are coming out of it today. Because thanks to ITU, we're using this link today, and it's going through either a fiber link or a satellite, which both have been standardized by ITU, so that the equipments manufactured in different countries are compatible to one another, are interoperable. And second thing ITU does is the management of spectrum. Global spectrum needs to be managed in a way to avoid harmful interference to one another. And thanks to the work that is being done in ITU, you can watch a television or a radio, or listen to a radio, or have a phone communication. Of course, it enables you to have access to internet as well. And therefore, the work being done here is very essential. It has moved from the telegraph days to telephones, to telex and radio and television, to today's most sophisticated technologies, always adapting itself to new technologies as technology evolves. So we are very proud of the international cooperation that we have from both public sector, but then also from private sector. We have, in addition to our 193 member states, we have over 700 private companies that are also playing equal part in the union. In fact, myself, I came straight from private sector to ITU. I take very pride of that, because as you know, when I was running, I was telling the member states that I'm from private sector, I must be good, so elect me. And they elected me, and they re-elected me again to this post, and I'm truly enjoying it.
Very good. You said, ITU, what was ITU's first technology was telegraphs, or was it something else?
Yeah, when it was created in 1865, it was meant to coordinate the Morse code globally, so that telegraph messages could be sent and the equipment be manufactured in different countries. It was at the time 20 countries, but as it has evolved, at the time it was International Telegraph Union. It kept the acronym by keeping International Telephone Union and then International Telecommunication Union. Every time adapting itself to newest technologies that are coming up.
Well, we talk about all of these developments in technology, going from Morse code to telegraphs and now to smartphones, and who knows who's going to be the next big thing when it comes to communication, information, and communication of information passing and communication between people. What I wanted to ask you, if part of ITU's viewing, how do you view entrepreneurship within ITU? Is it something you promote? Is it something is necessary for what ITU does? Not on a general sense, but on a direct. Are there specifics that could be provided by ITU or promoted by ITU is specific for entrepreneurship? Because, as you suggested, you're the oldest by age, but newest by services. Because all the new gadgets, spectrum that you discussed, that cell phones, cell providers, cable providers need to come to you. So there needs to be some kind of an innovation that helps all of the technologies to come together, but it needs to come from someplace, not just large companies, but also through entrepreneurs, correct?
Yeah, it's very important that capacity building is one of the key areas where we are very active on, and it's very important to highlight the need for training and training of young people, not only in the technologies and services and applications, but also in entrepreneurship. We also do a regular annual contest, what we call the Young Innovators Program, which enable us to select 30 young innovators on their projects and find sponsors for them, so that and people who will accompany them in making those programs come true. We have also, at the level of member states, encouraged them to have what we call incubators programs, where they will have in their different centers young innovators who will come with their ideas. That has proven to be very successful.
How many people applied to...
One more thing.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, we annually have about 30 young innovators that we select at every given time. But the thing goes beyond the ones who are selected. The process through which we go through actually is equally important. And I can tell you that all of the people who have actually even participated in the selection process have been successful in their lives.
And but do you know generally how many people apply for those positions and 30 are selected?
400. Yeah, I'm told that it was about 400 people who apply at every given time. Yeah. That's a small number in the world, of course, but I think it's significant enough. It shows, and it comes from all countries in the world. We also have the alumni, those who have won the contest, also will help as actually teachers for the second ones who come in, the second generations. Therefore, the circle keeps growing, and they become a network. The same thing we have also in our ITU telecom world, where we have a program for young participants. We bring 2 participants, one young girl, one young boy from each country in the world. They come together for the week of ITU Telecom World, and we have our next one in Bangkok this November 19 to 22nd, where we bring youngsters to come together and debate some of the key issues that are important for them. But I must tell you also, I have another big event coming at the end of this year, which is a World Youth Forum, a World Youth Summit, I should say, a summit that will take place in Costa Rica. And Armen, I believe that you have received an invitation for that, because the youngsters will like to hear from you there as well. These days, we are bringing 500 young fellows from all corners of the world to come and debate on the issues that are important for them in the information and communication technology sector. How they're going to deal with issues of employment, issues of the economic crisis, issues of the Millennium Development Goals, issues of climate change, and also more specifically issues of cybersecurity, which is one of the reasons why we invited them in the first place, because our host, the President of Costa Rica, President Chinchilla, she is the patron of my Child Online Protection Initiative, which is one of the things I do in ITU here in terms of cybersecurity. Child Online Protection, or COP in short, has enabled us to really to discuss this issue in a low pressure mode, because issue of security of children and youngsters is very important for everybody in the world, and it's not political. The other issues related to cybersecurity could be politically oriented or even ideologically oriented, and therefore you might not find common grounds, and while you are spending endless time debating on them, criminals are still working against our countries, our companies, and our children. And therefore, I had to find a common denominator, and that was the lowest hanging fruit that I could propose, protecting children. And then on that, everyone agrees. So we were able to do something tangible in that. And in that, we need to involve the children themselves. They are the biggest stakeholder in their own security, and therefore we need to involve them. So it's, in a nutshell, those are some of the key issues that we'll be discussing this year.
You said it's going to be in September in Costa Rica. Anyone would be interested in being part of this here? Oh, there would be a lot of people.
September 9 to 11.
September 9 to 11. And if some of our young participants here would want to join, is that possible? How would they do it?
I would love you to come. All you have to do is to sign up for this through Armen, and we'll take it from there. I'm trying to gather funds from private sector and from member states. Just last week during the World Telecommunication Policy Forum here, we had about a 2-hour brainstorming with our potential sponsors, and they are very much excited about it.
Very good. Since you said they can sign up with me, now everyone is looking at me. So, so I would probably need a little bit more information, and we'll get it. We'll pass it to everyone who would be interested. But I assume it's.
Well, look at our website. You will see BYND, BYND 15, which is beyond 15 actually, okay. But it's also broadband for young and networking. And you will have also, you can look at it from the social media that we have also put in place around that.
Very good. So those who are interested, you can go to ITU's website and check the link that Dr. Toure just suggested, but we'll also provide some information with time once we learn more. And those of you who are interested, is it a selection process, or those that apply may attend? How would it work?
Yeah, we'll have a selection process. Okay. In fact, one of the that's a very important question that you're asking, because our selection process are very transparent and very fair in a way, so to give the youngsters the possibility, the feeling when they are coming, that the real feeling that indeed they are coming on their own merit. I had in 2 occasions had to eliminate someone because his father or mother has called me to try and intervene for him, and therefore we immediately eliminated the person. We don't want anyone to come because you are a son of a president or of a prime minister, but you are coming because of your own merit, and the feeling in that is very good. And I keep telling the parents, please let the guys fight for themselves, and they can do it. And I believe any single person in this room here is there on his own merit or her own merit, and then you can do it.
So don't ask me to talk to Dr. Toure for you to go, okay? You'll be thrown out. Dr. Toure.
Just go out there and fight.
Exactly, let them do it. Dr. Toure, there is a lot of movement in ITU, and we discussed a lot during our last Broadband Commission meeting, and I want to turn to broadband in a second, but first, in anything that ITU is doing or looking forward, is there a space where some of our young folks here who are really engaged and they want to do well for themselves, but also for their communities and whatnot, Are there any programs, initiatives outside of the Youth Summit in Costa Rica that they can bring their skill set, their innovative, creative thinking, their creative ideas into expanding ITU's work, but also through doing that also succeed themselves?
Well, first of all, one of the first things I do is here in ITU is to try and make sure I convince governments to have the right policy that will be open for entrepreneurship. First, I tell them entrepreneurs will make profits, and there's nothing wrong with it, and making profits should not be a crime. But of course, young entrepreneurs, I also tell them that it's not necessarily profit-driven. If you're there just to, your primary goal is to be rich, and then you're going to miss the point. You have first to do something you like, and you know you're good at it. You have a good idea, and you will always find someone who will help you with it. That's first, and stick to it. You will always find someone to discourage you when you have even a brightest idea, but you have to stick to it in order for it to happen. Now, when countries put the right policy together, private sector will invest and invest more, and of course will then give services and applications. That's very important. We also have a number of key initiatives like empowering, which is mobile powering, which is enabling through mobile phones using some programs for health, for education. We also make sure that we have some programs like the Tech Neat Girls, where we're trying to make sure that there is a right balance between girls and boys in the ICT sector. We have seen there is a very low shortage of women in the ICT sector. And as you go up the ladder, and it becomes even more scarce, and that's something that we need to turn around. 50% of the human population cannot be neglected, and therefore they need to be encouraged, not only going into engineering fields and also mathematics and other fields, but also ICT needs all the trainings necessary, and therefore no matter what background you have, you can come into the ICT field. And we are encouraging legislation that will encourage that. We are also encouraging companies to also make use of that, so that there will be much more interest in that. And I believe that women have even more ability to succeed in this field, because women tend to think differently from men, and the way of thinking is actually they can think on many things at the same time. It's like making a software. So their brain is even much better than men's brain. I'm saying this because I have 3 girls, so I have to be on their side.
Dr. Toure, we during our Broadband Commission meetings, we talked a lot about integrating broadband throughout the world, especially in the remote areas. Can you speak a little bit? What types of returns are we expecting by just taking broadband into these environments? Is it going to be harnessing or harvesting entrepreneurship? What's the point of taking broadband to remote areas?
Well, you are at the World Bank. I'm sure that you must have heard the figures that 10% increase in broadband take-up will be linked to 1.38% percentage of GDP growth.
Dennis was here.
Sorry,
Dennis was here yesterday, and he said, "Don't believe World Bank data." So, but we'll go ahead. But
no, I was with Jim Kim just a couple of weeks ago in Madrid for our Chief Executive Board meeting with UN Secretary General and other UN heads, and I believe that the World Bank has a really very good strategy, and I believe in it. And I actually am pleased to see that Jim and I have the same approach to development in that field, and really the bank is in very good hands now. So coming back to the issue of broadband, it is really important to note that broadband is a tool. It's not an end in itself. Of course, you can make it's an industry in itself, but it also is a tool for all the other sectors. It will be the key enabler of our time here today. The Millennium Development Goals will not be met without broadband. Out of the 8 goals of the MDGs, the goal number 8 is only one dealing with ICTs, and it's one likely to be met ahead of time. And the whole purpose of creating the Broadband Commission for digital development was to use broadband as a mean to help leapfrog for the other sectors through e-health, e-education, e-government, e-commerce, and so on. And I believe that that will be a very, very important tool, and especially given the fact that it requires minimum training, and once it's there, it is going to be a tool that could be upgraded all the time. And we can make it a way that even people with very low level of literacy can be able to use it. And therefore, there is an opportunity for all of us, and especially in the remote and rural areas where farmers can cut the middleman out of the circuit and make more profits. And therefore, it's very important for everyone today.
And Dr. Toure, you said you were in private sector before moving to ITU. What were you doing?
Well, you know, I'm a satellite engineer by background, and so I spent all my life in satellite companies, doing engineering, marketing, and management, and it was fun.
Was money?
I came in the UN system just by chance.
Oh, I thought you came to UN because the money was so good, so much better than the private sector. You decided to switch over.
No, in fact, yeah, and that's why I'm telling the youngsters that it's not issue of money. I came with a reduced salary here because I believe that I came as director of the development sector. I believe at the time there was a need to change the development strategy. Being from a developing country myself, I was always advocating the fact that we don't need too much aid, we need more trade. And I needed to change that policy here to instead of assisting developing countries, my goal was to accompany them in what they want to do and help them get the best information so that I could do it better, and help them get the best partners so that I could do it faster and more efficiently. And I believe that we succeeded in that in 8 years as director of the development sector. It's also an elected post. We have a federal structure here of 5 elected, 3 directors and the Secretary General and the deputy working as what we call the coordinating committee. And my approach to development, I started applying it in Africa, and it culminated in Kigali in 2007 during my first year as Secretary General during the Connect Africa Summit, where I was asking heads of states to tell the 1,000 or so of business leaders who were there that making profit was not a crime in their countries. And if they did so, they said so, those people will come and invest in the country. As a businessman, if I invest, I am expecting to make profits. And if you can make profits, I will not take it away, I will reinvest it and make more profits. That's the rules of the game in the business. And I'm very pleased that the heads of states and governments who came to Kigali in 2007, in October 2007, made those statements. And as a result, we had $55 billion commitment from private sector for investment, not donation, not charity, not aid, but investment in the country. And as a result, in fact, we are going to have another summit in Kigali this year to review that the result of Connect Africa. It will be called Transform Africa. And I believe from the assessment I've received from my team, the level of investment will surpass 70 billion, way beyond the $55 billion that they were committing to invest. And you can see the result today. Over 70% of mobile penetration, mobile telephony, in less than 10 years. That's what happened in Africa. So that's a great result. Now, our challenge is how do we turn this mobile, what I call the mobile revolution, into a broadband revolution, because we need to go beyond now broadband. Our challenge is to make sure that the broadband services and applications are there, but also the access terminals are affordable enough, and we are predicting that by the end of this year, there will be below $50 smartphones that will enable a really huge growth in terms of broadband access in the less developed countries.
We're fortunate here to also have the Minister of ICT and Youth of Rwanda in audience, and I believe he will probably touch on Transform Africa conference that's going to place in October. So I'm glad that you're mentioning that, because we can maybe speak.
I'm glad he's there, because he was here in Geneva last week, and Rwanda won 2 awards during our WSIS award ceremony for very innovative solutions and applications that I have implemented in the country. And Rwanda, of course, is a very good success story that we're always proud to mention. No surprise why the President Kagame, is the chairman of the Broadband Commission for Digital Development, along with Carlos Slim Helu from Mexico.
Dr. Toure, in a minute, I want to open the floor for our participants here to come back and come into the conversation, and hopefully they'll have some questions, interesting questions for us. But I wanted to switch gear a little bit here, and
but I would want to ask you a question also, Armen.
Yes.
In your view, what are the major social concerns that are you seeing today for technology?
Social concerns?
Yes.
Well, one thing that really comes to mind and what we're working on is when it comes to resources for starting startups and having holistic environment for entrepreneurs to work in, there is really lack of those types of solutions. What I generally bring an example. When you have a steering wheel, you have the tires and you have the engine. Just because you have all of these elements, it's not a transportation solution unless it's all put together. So for entrepreneurship, we do encounter a lot of those types of solutions when you have pieces around, and because of that, it's quite difficult for these guys, but also for us in many instances to move forward. So one of the things we're working on in trying to bring this all into a holistic environment, so young people or any entrepreneur that wants to do business, they're not running around like the chicken with its head cut off, trying to figure things out. And there is a pattern, and it's an easy pattern you get on a kind of a conveyor belt and move forward with your ideas, turning your ideas into success.
But what is the key to success? You've been a successful businessman. That's why we invited you to the Broadband Commission. What's the key to success? Give us a tip here.
What you're asking me to do is, I have a session right after this that's going to focus on that. You're asking me to get ahead of my schedule and speak about that. But we're going to we have 4 banners here that says intellectual, core, network, and financial. Those are the capacities that we're going to speak about in a moment here to these audience. Those are some of the capacities that we say one requires, and how you can actually have access to them for you to ensure success. And success is a very elusive element if you really don't know how to put your arms around it. But I think from speaking to many of these guys here, that already are successful in many things, in many endeavors that they have done in their lives. And we're just going to give them a few more tips, and hopefully that will be that boost, that rocket that they would need to move forward.
Well, one very important tip I always give to the youngsters is that get up in the morning, look at yourself in the mirror, give yourself a big smile, make sure that you believe that you're going to succeed today, you're going to have a good day. If you're even courageous enough, say it so that you can hear it from yourself in front of a mirror.
Let's
give yourself that smile.
Let's try
and you're
that.
going to succeed. If you don't believe in it, it's not going to happen.
Let's try it now. First let's ask who's looked into a mirror this morning and said, "Hey, Oh, come on, raise
Hey,
your
you look good.
hands. Oh, there is one courageous person at least. Oh, I see some. Okay.
Believe me,
Oh, there you go,
I do
Dr.
it
Toure
every
as
morning.
well.
Yeah, yeah, I do it every morning. Believe me, and that's it may sound like a joke, but it's a one serious tip that you will never succeed if you don't believe in it in yourself,
Can
and you
we
don't feel good inside about it.
can we all say that I believe in myself? Can we all say it on count of 3? And 3 comes before 1 and 2. Just count of 3. 3. I believe in myself. Oh,
Myself,
come on. I believe into myself.
yes, and I'm going to succeed in life.
Do you believe it?
Yes.
All right, so one more time. I believe to myself. All right. I believe in you guys.
I mean, this may sound like a game, but I'm telling you seriously that if you do this tip and to a point that not only you're saying it, but
Yeah.
you deeply feel it inside, and that's key to succeed in anything you do in life.
No, you're so right. It really starts here. You know, our brains are phenomenal how they operate. I mean, if you tell yourself I don't, it will find 2 million different ways to tell you that you don't and you cannot. It's easy. You said it already. So it's going to find solutions why you can't, because it needs to. And the same way, if you ask it that I can, it's going to the opposite. So what Dr. Toure is suggesting, and it's very important, and I commend you that you are coming to share here, being at the position that you are. You still on a daily basis have to remind yourself that yes, I can, that yes, I am, for you to put yourself in the right frame of mind.
And you have to think of what you want to do as a good thing, what you want to achieve as a good result, not the bad result that you want to avoid. Don't think about that, because you will attract your thoughts at that time.
You're
So
absolutely right.
think of the positive thing. If the negative thing comes in your mind, repeat the positive one 10 times to take it away.
Essentially get into meditation. So, Dr. Toure, we asked this question to Dennis yesterday as well. If you were 24 years old, what would you do different? And I know it's not, you're very close to that age, but, what would you do different if you were only a few years younger?
Yeah, I'm 20. By the way, I'm 24 plus 36 years of experience. That's how I see it. But today's younger generation is thinking differently. The generation of my time had completely different opportunities. Today, the younger generation has tremendous opportunities that are open to them, and it's a matter of choice. That you have bigger choice. Now, how do you stay focused on making the right decisions? And how do you make those decisions fast? I believe that's what is important. You have so many choices that you may be taking too long in deciding. And any of the choices could work, in fact. So pick the one that you believe that you are good at it, and not necessarily don't think of being rich or successful. Those are two factors that will not take you anywhere. But if you believe in what you can do, and you can succeed, you will enjoy it, and then you can make money, a lot of money out of it.
Dr. Toure, do you have an entrepreneur that you admire? Whether alive now or from the past era?
Yeah, well, I admire a lot. We all know I admire Carlos Slim, because this is why I asked him to chair the Broadband Commission for digital development. I admire him for two things. One, he had the courage to implement his ideas. You know very well that one of the things that made many people able to be connected today is the prepaid mobile phones. And Carlos Slim was the inventor of prepaid mobile phones. He came with his idea to reach out to people who don't have a bank account, who don't have a fixed address, home address, or who may not have a lot of money to pay for a fixed phone. And that's how The world has reached, we're going to reach 7 billion mark this year, thanks to that. But I admire him more for the fact that he could stay humble with all that, with his feet on the ground, and still focused on business. This is why his business still continue to grow. And I believe that that's a very important characteristic.
Thank you. I want to open at this time to interaction with our participants. Anyone has any questions that you would want to, gentlemen over in the back? State your name, please. And
sure. Hi, Dr. Toure. Thank you for coming to speak to us. My name is Varun Shetty. I'm from Amherst, Massachusetts. And one of the problems that I see when you're with the implementation and development of a lot of these information technologies in developing economies is the issue of ICT literacy and education. And I was wondering, what can the ITU or perhaps the states themselves do to promote this idea of ICT literacy and education? Because it's a problem when you develop all these technologies, but the people you're developing them for can't even use them. Thank you.
That's right. That's a very pertinent question, and I believe that we always give the example of South Korea, where they developed over 25-year period a full program of literacy. Korea is #1 in ICT, in broadband access today in the world. Korea is #1 in terms of the lowest cost of broadband. A megabit per second costs less than $1 in Korea today, less than $2, I'm sorry. Our goal is to, that's what we put in the Broadband Commission 2 months ago in Mexico, to have the world have that half of that by end of 2020, meaning $1 per megabit per second. I hope that we can achieve that even faster. South Korea put a real good ICT literacy program addressing different layers of the society, from school children to trainers programs to adults to women, different groups of the society they've addressed, to even companies. So I believe that's a very good example that we keep preaching. We also have a number of opportunities where we have global regulators coming together and sharing the best practices. Because after all, the role of an organization like ITU is to share information with our members. Because we are in the information society, it would be a shame if anyone makes a mistake that was made already somewhere by lack of information. Or someone reinvents something that was invented already, which, what a waste of time. So we share those information so that people leapfrog quickly. But you are right, capacity building and ICT literacy is a key to it. We literally always tell people, please invest in people's brains. It's the best natural resource that we have. It's the most common everywhere, and it's based on human brain. Human brain is a natural resource that is equally distributed everywhere, but now you have to train them, those brains. And by doing so, you can really succeed. Not only in using those applications, but also in making a living yourself. Look at a woman in a rural area that is literate, that can use ICTs. She will be able to cater for her children's health and their education as well, and the whole welfare of the family. So it is indeed the bottom line for success for countries, and they have to invest in capacity building and ICT training.
thank you, Dr. Toure. Any other questions from the audience? The lady in the back. Who was here? Anyone? I'll get to you next.
Hello. I just have a quick question. In terms of getting...
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Rose Barsamian, and my question is, if you have really little children and you're trying to introduce them to technology, is there any suggestion from you as to when you should learn when is the right time to introduce them to technology? In the sense of, should I be focusing on books when they're very little, or should I be giving them a device that, instead of me sitting next to the child and reading the book, I can just sit there and give them a device and say, go figure it out, and then they're not going to play with it. But I want to be able to balance teaching them how to learn to read, yet learn how to use the most up-to-date technology.
Wow, that's the most difficult question I've ever had, actually.
Well, you
Yeah,
probably did
it's
not
a
have to
tough
deal with that issue when your kids were kids, Dr. Toure, but now I guess the world has changed.
In my time, I was struggling to get them off the television all the time. I was saying it's not good for your eyes. So, well, now I see it with my two granddaughters who are 5 and 7, living in Stamford, Connecticut, and they're teaching me how to, do these things actually. But I believe that we have to be careful in ensuring that we combine both the same issue comes to at the higher education level, where some people are promoting e-learning as a way forward. I always advocate the need for combining the physical training and the virtual training. I believe those two need to go together, because you might live in a completely different world if you don't do so, and that would be unfortunate. We want people to also children to continue to have a normal social life, to benefit from that, in addition to the virtual life that they're entering into in any way. Anyway, so it's important to make sure that they also are taught how to read and write directly from books as well. So I'll go for a combination of both.
Thank you. Gentleman over here.
Hello, I'm Ben Rosen from Portland, Oregon. I was wondering more about your initiative on reducing the cost of broadband. It seems like there's a high fixed cost, and I was curious about your initiative to reduce it by 2020. Thank you.
Well, yeah, you need to take into account that yes, there is a high fixed cost. There is also a running cost. But the whole cost of technology is really not, we don't address the cost of technology per se. We address a legislation. In terms of, you need to bring in a regulatory environment that is conducive to competition. And therefore, you will leave it to private sector to go ahead and choose the technology. We are advocating here in ITU what we call technology neutral licensing mode, where you're not prescribing to the operators what type of technologies they should use. You're not giving a GSM license or a 3G license. You just give them a license for communication, and therefore it will be up to them to choose what mean they will use. Now, you also give them some targets. Nobody wants to go in remote and rural areas because it's not necessarily fast profit making, but if you give those things as conditions to the license, they will be able to balance it out. Without prescribing them what type of technology to be used, they will select the right thing to do, and therefore, and especially given that here at ITU we also allocate the spectrum, the frequency spectrum. Some of them are very good for rural and remote areas because with one tower, the spectrum in lower part of the bandwidth will be able to go in very long distances, covering a large amount of territory with one tower, and therefore giving you the opportunity to optimize costs. And the smart usage of the combination of the different spectrums enable the operators to come with very realistic figures that will be affordable for everyone, without having to subsidize one service for another. But it all starts with policy, a smart policy. We always say it should be a light touch policy, regulatory environment, light touch regulatory environment. As you know, and there are some opponents to that, but my answer to them is that the current financial crisis in the world was due to total lack of regulation in the financial sector. the ICT sector has been somehow regulated, but very light touch regulation. And we need that to continue. It shouldn't be heavy-handed regulation, prescribing into detail what type of services they should sell or how much it will cost. You just leave it to competition and it will go. But you have to set the rules of the game, the rules of engagement, and have a regulator, an independent regulator, independent from all of the players, who will be able to be the referee among the players in a fair and transparent manner. And those rules need to be known by everyone. You need to avoid changing the rules of the game during the game so that players be comfortable with it. So this is that type of very clean environment that we've been able to suggest to our member states. And today you have over 180 countries with an independent regulatory authority. We also tell them to have a plan for broadband, a national broadband plan. Since the Broadband Commission creation in 2010, we have had, I was in Cambodia just a couple of weeks ago, and it was 146 countries in the world that have a national broadband plan. That was broadband plan was commissioned by ITU, by the way, in help with our experts who help the country to build that. Of course, they still have to get that approved by their parliament.
Dr. Toure,
they have gone a long way already.
Just one follow-up question on when we talk about 146 countries have a broadband plan. Are there any action plans to them? Are there follow-ups? Meaning, is there going to be a timeline when all of these plans are implemented, or is it just an ongoing plan that these countries come up with?
No, the plans are long-term plans. That's a vision for the case of Cambodia. We've done it now. We've put a vision 2020 so that they have set the parameters and the targets that they want to achieve as a country by then, and set some ground rules that will enable private sector to come in and invest into it, and government, as a result, also to start kicking off some national e-government, national government e-services that will enable to trigger the demand by putting together a national e-health program or a national e-education program. Private sector will be able to get the first dollars, first revenues that will come out of it from government, and then that will trigger a whole demand that will be generating more revenue for private sector.
Okay, thank you. The gentleman in the back, yes.
Bonjour, Toure, Mr. Toure. My name is Kofi Alex. I have a question about I know that the private sector and the public sector have different interests and probably clashing interests. I was wondering if you could tell me the challenges that you have in order to earn their cooperation. Thank you very much.
That's a very good point, and Kofi. The fact is that here, by the fact that myself, I have had the chance to work in public sector and then private sector and come back in the international multilateral environment, I am able to safely say that, in fact, the interests of those three entities are not contradictory, but in the contrary, they are complementary. Public sector's role is to set the ground rules, they set the policy and the environment. And then private sector will invest and be operators. Public sector will play the role of a referee among the players and not be a player himself. So we've gone through phases where we have asked all governments to get out of the operation of telecommunication services and leave it to private sector. And therefore, they can be a honest broker between them. And that has worked. That's proven to be very instrumental. And the job of intergovernmental institutions like ITU will be to bring them together and share best practices, lessons learned, and even mistakes made so that no one has to make the same mistake again. It will be a shame in the information society if we make those things that has been done already somewhere. So this is the kind of complementary role that all of them have.
All right, thank you. We have about 5 minutes left, so we'll take 2 questions. I think there was a gentleman there, and then the gentleman here. We'll go with him first, and then we'll wrap this up. Please make it very quick so we can end on time. Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Toure. I'm Alex from Miami, and I'm a team member for an emerging fiber optics-based internet service provider in the upper New York State area. And we've been wondering how you would advise leveraging a portion of our profits to aid in the expansion of broadband availability in the emerging markets in Africa.
Wow. That's great. That's a very great initiative. And I believe that you'll find some countries, there are a long list of countries. I'm sure Minister from Rwanda is there, is sitting, and he'll be a really happy man if you talk to him. He will be able to show you some potential partners in his own country and other countries in Africa. And also, he will tell you some of the possibilities you have in terms of regulatory environment. That is, it is there. And we can do that so that you will have young entrepreneurs who will be an expansion of your services and applications in there. And that's the best way, actually, to move forward. There is a rare opportunity now in the emerging countries, in the developing countries, especially in Africa. There is a leadership that understands that business is there to invest, and if they are given the right environment, they will evolve, they will invest and reinvest their profits and make more profits. But at the same time, they will train people, they will give services and applications. And guess what? Governments will be re-elected. They understand that. People will be happy. And I would advise you 2 things. When you're doing your plan, don't do it 100% as an aid. You have to have partners who will have at least $1 out of their own pocket. Then they will value the whole thing that you are implementing. And therefore, they're doing 2 things. One, they will show commitment. Commitment should be not just in ideas, but you have to have a financial commitment. And second, they will make sure that investment, that commitment, is used in an efficient and profitable manner, and then you will have a real partnership. So don't go. I'm from one of the poorest countries in the world, but I'm against 100% aid. Those who are helping should bring their own money as well. And what I was telling to the World Bank in the past, which I've heard from Jim Kim, the new World Bank president, is that let's not invent or conceive development programs for countries out there in Africa or anywhere, or in Asia, in Latin America, from Washington. You will always find people who believe in what they want to do, who love their country, who are ready to, who have some ideas. So instead of assisting them, we should accompany them in making their dreams happen. So you will find some partners who will, in Africa, who will have the same ideas as you do, and those are the real partners with you, and you will be succeeding with them.
Thank you, Dr. Toure. Last question, just make it very quick. We have 2 minutes. Well, we have 1 minute, I'm told.
Yes,
Go ahead.
my name is Hamad Al-Hamad. I'm from Saudi Arabia. My question is, yesterday they were talking about the problem of corruption, and that some governments give some kind of contracts to, like yesterday she was saying, a brother or something. So how does the ITU ensure fairness in countries for the telecommunication and ICT in general? And how can we help as entrepreneurs endorse this fairness?
Excellent question.
Yes. No, that's an excellent question. And I see Hamad from Saudi Arabia and Kofi from Ghana, and you have a very broad attendance there, and that's very good. People come from all corners of the world coming and sharing their experiences. That's great. And you guys are making friends for life. Those are the future. You are the future leaders of the world. You are the friends, and who will continue this networking that they were creating this week is unbelievable. And I really much very happy for you guys. In answer to your question, I believe what I was talking about, a regulatory environment that is friendly, that is transparent, is key to avoiding corruption. And I can safely say that we're reaching the 7 billion mark for mobile telephony by the end of this year. So there will be more mobile telephones on Earth than citizens of the planet by the end of this year. But of course, it doesn't mean that everybody has a phone, because some of us, people like you or me, have more than one phone, more than one SIM card. So that's mean that there are some people in the rural areas who still do not have it. We still have to connect them. And in addition, there are only 2.5 billion people connected to the internet, and that's something that we need to solve. And that's a big challenge for all of us. Now, the best way to do it is to have a transparent regulatory environment that is simple, easy to understand, that also involves all the stakeholders in the process. When you are making those rules and regulations, that you consult the operators themselves, who are the stakeholders, and the consumer groups as well. And really, I can safely say that we have succeeded so far, because that's exactly what we do here in the ICT sector. The global regulators come together annually on what we call the GSR, the Global Symposium of Regulators. Between two regulatory conferences, they also have a chat room in ITU, which we call the GREX, the Global Exchange Network for the regulators, where they exchange best practices. And thanks to that, we have some common principles that have been developed worldwide, that is, people are running everywhere. Take the example of Nigeria. It's the best example of success story. Nigeria was, about 10 years ago, Nigeria was seen as one of the most corrupt countries in the world. But Nigeria had 5 years in a row was the highest percentage in terms of growth of mobile telephony. That wouldn't have happened 5 times in a row, being the best in the world, in a vacuum. They must have done something right. And I know for sure the Nigerian Communication Commission, the NCC, like the FCC in the US, has some very good rules, very transparent, and they involve ITU every time they are making those decisions. When they are selecting a new operator, for instance, when opening those tenders, they ask ITU to be present and have our experts and help them to make sure that the process is not only transparent, but is fair as well. We have succeeded in that. I believe that we can share those lessons with other sectors as well, so that they too become more transparent.
Thank you, Dr.
But
Toure.
transparency is important. The feeling of transparency is equally important, and also we also have to also communicate and spread the word. The French say, you say in French, savoir-faire et faire savoir. When you invert those two words, savoir-faire means know-how. Faire savoir is to also communicate, to let know, and that's very important.
Dr. Toure, thank you. This was an immensely informative session. Thank you for your time. Thanks for connecting to us from Geneva. Dr. Toure actually was supposed to be here in person today, but then he had a surprise visit from the President of Dominican Republic, I believe, that was visiting you in Switzerland, so he had to stay back and greet him in Switzerland. So thanks for being with us live, but not in person. But it seems like you're here.
Armen, let me just say one thing here. I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity, but I would like to get the list of these young men and girls there, so that when they become famous, they don't forget me. I will remind them that, you know, I was here. So please don't forget me, okay?
We'll make sure of that. We'll have a postcard of you with your signature given to every one of them. Again, thanks for being here. Hopefully we'll see some of them in Costa Rica in September 9/11, and we'll get some information from you. We'll pass it through. Hopefully I'll get to see you sometime soon. I haven't seen you since Mexico, but we'll come together soon at some point, I'm sure. And with that, I want to end this
Absolutely.
session and thank your colleagues for putting this together and thank our colleagues for making this happen. It really seems like we're in the same room, yet we are half a globe away.
And we saved many tons of CO2 during this link.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Exactly. Thank you very much.